Sometimes I think with each new GPU that comes out, who are really buying these? Because alongside the GPU being 2 grand, it's also not a huge improvement from what the last generation is. Buying something like a 5090 card doesn't make sense when you could afford to buy an actual car instead of getting a graphics card. The price difference between the 50 series and the top tier Radeon cards is so severe at this point that you might as well go with Radeon, because they have just better price points. I guess if your entire life goal was to play a game on 4K 60 FPS, you can now do that. Now you can pay 2 grand for that 5090. 4K gaming is now a possibility. Not a guarantee, but a possibility. 5090, of course, don't get me wrong, is a good GPU. It's a really good GPU. But the marginal improvement from the 4090 is so little that why even work on a GPU that's supposed to be that much better? I can understand somebody who does like graphic design or does graphical things or editing shit like that needs like a 4090 maybe, 4080 to upload and process videos as fast as possible. But you'll never need a 5090. Do you really need to render a 1440p video in 30 seconds? For the people who are buying a 5090 for gaming, I don't get that even more. That baffles me completely. Me and my friend were talking about it, and it's a good idea. Like, why do games go so hard on graphics nowadays? We shouldn't be needing to get these 5090s and 4090s to play games. We should be able to play games on low graphical settings because games can still look good even on bad graphics. The cartoony looks of some games, let's say Overwatch, let's say Fortnite, games that are free and a lot of people play. Because when you're playing a video game, you're trying to not be in reality. So why do people want the graphics so good? It seems like you're in reality. And along with that, graphics cards are not cheap. Like some of the ones that like anybody buys, those are the ones that you've seen a budget build, are still $200, $300. They're not cheap. The card I have isn't even that good, and it's still $300. Why exactly? Because it's really good for what it was. The only excuse I can see of buying a 5090 if you want to do gaming is that you know that'll be your card for the next 10 years and it should function, depending on how gaming goes and how they want to push graphics more. But I still feel like a 5090, even if they want to push graphics, you'll be able to play high 1440p games forever. Just buying a 5090 to have that slight bit of a performance increase really isn't even worth it if you want to spend the big bucks. Somebody who has a 4090 card, you might as well just keep it. For the price difference, the amount of money you're going to be dropping on a slightly better card that's maybe 30% at best better is not really worth the $800, almost $1,000 in expenses. We're going to ignore the different shirt and my hair being wet. I just took a shower. I can see a purpose to getting a 5090 if you're going to be using it for like extreme video rendering, or if like Disney needs more cards to video render. I could see 5090s being used for shit like that. But the marginal increase for gaming isn't really worth it unless you're using the thing that has the AI frame generation, which will give you a 30-40% boost. But without that, it's like 5-15%. It's barely anything without a boost. Of course, you have to take a lot of what I'm saying with a grain of salt, because I also don't like the 4090. I don't think that's worth the money. If you're going to be getting any GPU, even if you want top-of-the-line stuff, you could just get a 4080, 4070 even. The 4090, the expensive cards just never seem worth it. The price to how much you're getting really never matches up. And along with that, you never need to have top GPU to play video games, or to stream, or to do a lot of things. You could have this GPU, but why spend $2,000 on that when you can spend $2,000 on the whole PC that can stream and do everything you wanted to do? In my opinion, it's better to get a Radeon card than any GTX, RTX card out there anymore, because of the price differences. GTX and RTX cards are just so much more expensive for far less, because they have the GeForce label. Radeon cards are known as mid-range cards, so they're not thought of as top of the line. I right now have a Radeon RX 480. Not a bad card, and it functions completely fine. My issue is my CPU. Even if you gave me enough money to purchase the 5090, I probably wouldn't, and I'd save up the money and get the top of the line Radeon card right now, which I think is $700-800. Still not cheap, but it's comparable. I think it's about a 40-50% difference. The RTX 5090 right now is about 50-40% better than the top of the line Radeon cards, which sure, that's a real marginal difference. But the big marginal difference I'm looking at is the over $1,000 of a price difference. 50% isn't worth $1,000. The other 50 series cards seem good, like they'd actually be really good competitors for the mid-range market if they weren't RTX cards, so they're going to get scalped the second they come out. and I'm pretty sure they already are. Like, for instance, I think it was the 5070, they wanted to be a lot like an RX 7900 XT, and the MSP, or the market sale price, was about like $650, $700 for it, which isn't nearly as bad as it has been for a lot of RTX cards. When I first got into computers, the 30 series had dropped, and it was the GPU crisis. So maybe that instilled something in my brain to never think, man, I need a good GPU. Because a good GPU is so expensive, it's never going to be worth it in my eyes. Unless you actually need to get a new GPU. Unless you are completely outclassed. And I'd say not even I'm outclassed with an RX 480 from 2015. The need for higher graphics is not needed in video games. All we want is just a fun experience to play. I can speak for almost all gamers. I wouldn't say every single gamer doesn't want to see full labia in their video games like Cyberpunk, but a lot of gamers are like me, who just want a fun experience. I don't care if the game looks cartoony. I don't care if it looks realistic. What I care about is if it's just a fun game to play. Think about Fortnite. I said this before already. Think about Fortnite. Think about Overwatch. 2 games people play, Marvel Rivals. 3 games people play. There's a lot of games that people play that don't look realistic and don't have high graphical intensity. Rivals has a bit of higher. That's because of all the shit going on the screen. There are, I guess, a few ways you could compensate or justify getting a 5090. That is, if you're actually doing video rendering or things that it's built to do. Blender, things that it's really, really good at. 30, 20 seconds. Like, there is a marginal difference there. And I can completely see you getting it for that reason. If you're mining Bitcoin, why are you getting these cards anymore? These are just not worth the price. If you're mining Bitcoin, go for Radeon cards. RTX are not the way to go. Well, everybody have a good day, night, or whatever time it is for you. I hope you like my new chair. Peace, like, subscribe, all that good stuff.